Right, morning everyone. If you can hear me from the back, just let me know, just to make sure that the sound quality is adequate for you this morning. Just give it 2 minutes just to make sure that everyone's here, and then we'll get things underway. So yeah, looking forward to an interesting discussion about the latest trends, threats, challenges to the two-piece camera market globally. So yeah, looking forward to a good conversation.
Sean at the back there, can you hear everything clearly?
Right, well, I think we're all good to begin. So thanks very much for joining us. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Alex Horton. I'm Managing Director of Meta Packager. And as you can see, we've assembled a stellar cast of industry who's who. So yeah, looking forward to a good conversation. Hopefully, we'll discuss some of the pertinent topics within the sector at the moment. Had a couple of these guys on the panel before, and it was all a little bit too polite. So I'm hoping that there's going to be a few discussion areas that we can get our team stuck into, and hopefully generate some debate about as I said before, the challenges, threats, opportunities for the sector. I know there's certainly lots to discuss at the moment. We're certainly going to deep dive into the Middle East, perhaps touch upon a little bit of automation, AI, but also talk about general market conditions as well. So, but I'll pass over to the team here, just to give a brief introduction. So, Chris, you can just start as well.
Sure. What's an expert? expert, somebody who's old, basically around for a long time. My position at the moment is I start my own company, Tolac, where we supply service engineers locally. Both myself and my friend over here, we both are similar entities, but we come up on work for Stolly, CMP, Metalbox, and Henkel on the technical record. So a reasonable cross section of the industry.
Hi everyone, I'm Yusuf here. Myself, I work at CCMC, which is a can manufacturer in Jeddah. I've been there for about a year now, so this plant is mainly serving the beverage markets in GCC, the Levant, Africa, and Europe to some degree. So for that, I worked at Ball Corporation as a sales director for over 6 years. So I'm junior to. Is it not? Yeah.
Sean, can you hear
Can
me?
you hear me? No. Any better now with the mic?
That's better.
It's better, okay.
I can tell, but I think.
All right, so I'll start over and give you a quick introduction. My name is Mohammed Yusuf. I am the general manager at CCMC, which is a can manufacturing plant in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. So we serve strategically being on the Red Sea. We support the customer base not only in the GCC, but also the Levant, but also in Africa, and also we're expanding into Europe as a whole. So before that, I worked with Ball Corporation for 6 years as a sales director. So I would say I'm junior to these gentlemen sitting to the right and left of me in terms of experience. So I'm here to learn a lot from them.
Only by age.
So thank you, everyone.
And Bruce?
Yeah, so I'm Bruce Jones. I'm one of the managing directors of OE Container Technology based in Carlisle, the UK. My wife Sue is actually the managing director. She's in the front row listening, so no heckling. Yeah, we're supplying engineering support across, predominantly from the UK, across Europe, the US, etc. And then we have an office here in Russell Hill, which is run by Lauren. And we support projects from here. My background, I started with what was then Metalbox, became Crown in the UK, and then I moved to Saudi Arabia in the 90s with a company called Nafsa, manufacturing ends, and then to Watford, what was then Rexon. And from Rexon back to Saudi Arabia with Nafsa, and on to Alger, we were based out of Dubai, and we have the can factories in Iran, and then the shareholding of the can factory in what is USA and Dubai. Okay, so that's my background.
That's great. No, thanks very much, guys. Just the technicians there. There's been a bit of variance in terms of the sound, so if you can just put yourself towards the back of the room just to make sure that the sound quality is okay. Thank you very much.
I think it's a different test.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, well, we'll kick things off and get started. So I think certainly in the industry in the last 18 months it's been a bit of volatile is the way to describe things. I know certainly during COVID and subsequently after that we had the ongoing sustainability message. The industry was booming pretty much COVID. But last 18 months to 2 years we've had a bit of downturn in the industry, so I think that's probably a nice place to start. Bruce, if you just perhaps start us off in terms of global perspective. I recently did a podcast with Gus Solly, Gus Real from Solly. He mentioned the fact that the industry seems to be picking up, particularly in developing markets. So is that a notion that you agree with, or just be nice to get an overview just to kick things off?
Yeah, I think I do agree with it. I think everybody knows there have been things going on in the last 12 or 18 months prior to that, with heavy investment cost of COVID industry. And we sort of hit a lull, that's the right term. But then as a market, we've kind of come through that. This isn't the first time we've seen this happen. We've come through that. I think the outlook is positive. There's no doubt. I mean, we're having conversations today with people that 12 months ago we probably weren't having those conversations. You know, some of those are turning into orders, some of those are still rather speculative. But the general view is that there is a push, let's say, particularly to move that forward. And a lot of that continue. I think. Do we get back to COVID levels? Probably not in the near future, but somewhere near would be very nice.
And Mohammed, do you agree with that notion? And certainly Bruce there talks about a bit of a bubble in terms of perhaps industry, not complacent, but in terms of good things come to an end after a period of time. So I think we're kind of expecting that growth to continue. So perhaps it's been a time for the industry to take stock and kind of reassess where things are. So certainly with CCMC, and we'll get into the Middle East a bit later on. But globally, is that something you subscribe to?
Over the last 18 to even 2 years, we've seen a major shift in consumer behavior as a whole. I would say after a lot of COVID was happening, a lot of consumers were obviously instead of going to the restaurants, to the lounges, to the bars, they were purchasing product at home. So consumer spending became more on home products rather than going out. So we saw an increase, and a lot of the can makers at that point believed that this was going to continue even after COVID. Investments were made by major players, or speed increases were also made as well. And then in 2023, we saw, I would say, a dip, and open capacity was much more there. And even, let's say, in my region specifically, there was a lot of supply into Europe and into North America to feed the supply, and that disappeared when things, let's say, calmed down. And I would say now the Middle East, which we'll go into more detail later, is seeing a big boom in the Middle East and in India, which is coming back to the stage of less open capacity.
And Chris, it'd be nice to get your perspective. I actually pulled down a story from Packaging in the last couple of days. Interestingly, Asahi, they mentioned that can beer sales have surpassed bottled beer sales for the first time, and that's prompted the company to invest in Queensland, your part of Wales. So it seems definitely a positive message out there. So do you think, in terms of the industry overall, do you think we've recovered from this downturn, or do you think there's still some room to go for growth with the global perspective moving forward?
Bruce's original comment about we've been through this before is certainly true, but we haven't been through it in the same way as we are now. Because in the past we've seen those, we've lived through those. When I was at Mailbox, sort of the goals were addressed. The difference with this one is it's a law we've seen brought about by the big corporations overextending themselves. With the COVID situation, there was a lot of money spent on expansion, and that expansion was too great. You also mentioned the fact that the Middle East, as well as Turkey, and as well as most of the Chinese markets, spent a lot of money building plants to supply it to the USA and to Europe to support the lack of capacity they had. Now we're in a situation which, probably Bruce and myself, we're in a situation which is different to a lot of our supply friends. A lot of our supply friends are not going to see the breadth of machines that they could sell for another 1 or 2 years to the big corporations, because they have these vast stocks which we still have. We can work on the basis that we can make things which are out there already better than they were, but we can't see huge growth in the European market or the American market. However, you are right in Asia Pacific and certainly Australia for the first time in 25 years, we're seeing growth. We've seen not only growth with Asahi, and we've seen the building of extra lines in Queensland, in Melbourne, and in Sydney. We're seeing positive results. And that, I think what we're seeing now is we're seeing a generation of independents who were fed up with being sidelined by the bigger companies, now saying enough, we're going to look after ourselves in the future.
And I'll add one other point that you touched on, I think is beneficial. Back in I would say 2014, 2015 in the Middle East, there was a big boom for the demand for cans. And many of the players were making heavy investments. And then in 2016, 2017, then things started happening. Importation duties into Iraq. You had your CST tax, your sugar tax, your VAT, your one of many changes that occurred. So I think when these investments were made, their assumptions were things are going to grow. And now in 2024, 2025, they see the same thing happening and they're more skeptical on are these investments needed? But many of the players have seen that this is a great opportunity to grow the business, increase capacity, increase investments, but they are more cautious because of what happened in 2015.
You're right, there's a lot of fear still there.
I think happened actually prior to that, I think there was from, let's call it post-Lava, there was a significant amount of investment in this region, right? And let's go probably over-investment, from global independence. And then there was a lot of drive from the big companies as well to expand what they had already. And that grew this huge volume into place, and that was and that was always the challenge. And you're absolutely right, things have come along after that, that were kind of driven that market back down. And I think from our perspective, we didn't see huge growth in the Middle East, right? I think you're absolutely right. Nowadays, these things are happening. Really, the rest of the world, there's a drive from the big players to become more efficient, to get more out of their factories. It's probably the easiest way to say it. And that's what we're certainly seeing. That's what we've seen in the last 12 or 18 months, where that's been there, the kind of discussions and the draw that we had, as opposed to the expansion or further expansion of these plants. So it's kind of where
And I think Bruce, just a slight issue with the mics will be sort of, but just I just want to pivot to you guys there in terms of, I know we've spoken there about the positivity, but I think it's probably be remiss of us not to mention perhaps one elephant in the room in terms of tariffs at the moment.
You said you wouldn't go there.
We're going to have to mention, we're going to get to it political, but I think we better touch upon it. I know recently Coca-Cola have said that potentially will pivot away from council for PET. So at the moment, I know it's an ongoing issue, it's not a day-to-day issue, but Chris, could we start off with you in terms of the tariff situation? Is that a major concern for the industry, or is this something that we saw in Trump after one, his first administration, which is something that the industry is going to have to deal with? I know when we had a pre-record meet-up, we discussed this, and you guys had a bit of a different take on things, different spins. So I'd be interested to hear your side of things and whether it's a real cause of concern for the industry.
We will get you back after this. It's tariffs, amongst all the other things, are very sensitive issues. And yes, the tariffs are going to make a difference. But I believe that pre-tariff, the slip had already started, because the Trump called the anti-woke situation. If we look at not wokeism, but the sustainability issue, certainly in the Pacific and in Australia, and I saw it in Europe as well, that the average person is beginning to say, oh, it's all great to say let's not have PET, and let's not have glass, and let's be sustainable. But at the end of the day, the one thing that COVID gave to people is they started to look at the actual dollars they were earning and what they could afford. And so we started seeing that step back to PET, back to glass, because they were receivable, they were big packaging, they were easy to make and cheaper. The tariffs, I think, with what we heard with Coca-Cola, is just going to overextend that. Will it make a difference in the USA? Yes, we saw this in the first Trump era, where he put the price of tariffs on metals on the basis that it would give America cheaper materials to spend to be able to manufacture. All that happened was that the American metal producers just put their prices up and made more margin. So the actual consumer got no benefit out of it at all. You agree with that?
Yeah, I kind of agree, Chris, but I think the whole thing we were discussing actually earlier this week is all about landed costs. It's the landed cost of your metal, and regardless of how you make it the landed cost, whether it be tariff, or whether it be conversion, whether it be RB, whether it be anything else that builds into that picture, as a two-piece can manufacturer, and you're looking at that and you're saying, right, X tons of aluminium cost me X amount of money, finished, right? And how that's built up is entirely it's almost irrelevant for us to say that this is, I mean, I'm going back here, because he's in the middle of dealing with these things. My view is a little bit outside.
Because we discussed this with you the other day, and the cost for you for landing costs.
Exactly. So there's a lot of factors. I'll take a step back even further. So when it comes to the tariffs, let's talk specifically the U.S. and let's use Canada as an example. Being Canadian, I have teeth in the game, let's say, to some degree. So if this is activated, the Canadian aluminum industry accounts for 94%, from my understanding, my knowledge, 94% of aluminum being produced in Canada is being shipped to the U.S. If this happens and the tariff of 25% is added on, of course, still Canada will supply the U.S., but it'll be to a lesser extent. If that is occurred, that means it's open capacity in Canada. Of course, as these gentlemen said, these oils will go somewhere, whether it's going to go to South America, whether it's going to go to Asia, whether it's going to go to the Middle East, but you have an increased lead time, which is going to play a huge havoc on, let's say, the supply chain of the whole industry. Number two, the land cost is going to increase, and that's going to be passed on to the customer base. Now, the customer base has the, let's say, the filters have the choice between plastic and aluminum. They are going to move more towards the plastic if the margins are stronger for them. If customers in the aluminum can filling industry are using variable pricing, which a lot of you guys are aware of, they are going to have to pay more for the aluminum cans, but sell it for the same price, because you cannot increase the price per can in my region. It's very difficult to do this. Their margins go down. So as a business, they're going to focus more on plastic, and plastic is, let's say, a big part of the industry here, especially in Saudi Arabia and Saudi. It's going to drive plastic in a different direction, which happened during the time when LME was going all the way up to 4,000 USD back in, I'm not sure what year it was, 2023, 2022?
Yeah.
So this is my take on the tariff situation.
Is it a case that the consumer always loses? I see it in terms of inflation pressures in the last 2 to 3 years. Contacts within the industry, or when they mentioned it was just a once in a generation opportunity to basically put up prices and get away with it. Will it be a similar situation here where ultimately it's just the consumer that's going to get hit in the back pocket? That's kind of a bit of an open question for you guys. So,
It's trickle down economy. When the first people are going to suffer in that factory, because as you said, there's only so much you can put on the price of the can, and then there's going to be even less for the price of the country's not going to put their prices up too much, so it's going to bounce back on you. And then yes, I suppose in some cases the consumer will. I do think the trickle down economy is going to take a while. Manufacturers are going to be the first ones to be hit.
Absolutely.
just before we bring, sorry,
I really agree with that at this point here, because certain parts of the world, certain parts of this region particularly, you've only got a couple of really big brands, and one's going against the other, right? And they are looking for market share, and they will not be increasing pricing, and the other guys are not increasing pricing. Absolutely. And where's the hit end up? Back to the can manufacturer. Absolutely. Well,
It's a big percentage of the overall price of the product.
we've been in that one before as well.
Absolutely. And of course, there's a lot of tricks in the trade that a lot of fillers end up doing. Again, as a lot of you guys are aware, they'll look at different pack sizes, price points. The best example is if you're looking at, like, let's say a 250 ml slim can. Our fillers at the end of the day that I supply would go down to 240 ml to reduce the cost of how much product is being filled in the product, in the can, and also, in a way, they are trying to deceive the consumer that they are still buying the same product, same size, at the same price.
Yeah. Most of the chocolate bars. But my bar went from that size, where the package is still that size, but inside of the chocolate is only that size.
This is another wagon wheel.
classic chocolate bar. So yeah, we'll move on there. But just before we bring things back into the Middle East, I just want to open the conversation up to the floor, give you guys a chance to draw breath there. We've covered a lot of juicy topics there to start things off. So just, is there any audience feedback so far in terms of any questions for the panelists there in terms of what they've said in terms of market trends, tariffs, how they'll say play with the industry is? Just want to bring the audience in to see if there's any questions. And usually at this point it's quite polite, no one likes to start things off. We've got a question there, so can we...
But of course, it doesn't have to be a question, okay? You're part of the panel as well, so if there's anything that you feel that you can put into it, please feel free to.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for doing that. Insights. Just a question related to the environmental impact. So we're talking, I know that this session is primarily focused on the tariff and the market share, and especially in the Gulf region. But we know very well also that the Gulf is trying also to kind of move into circularity. And there was a lot of discussion around PR recently, and also a lot of discussion around banning plastic. So I'm not sure how can balance between demand and what is the most sustainable, I would say, product or package versus legislation. Because we understand that there's a lot of tariff that could push down or push up the preference from at least from production aspect. But what about the circularity of the plastic consumption?
So I'll start with it. So working in this region, let me take a step back to start with. So coming from North America, a lot of my career in North America, we know the importance of sustainable packaging, the environment, looking at reducing water consumption, solar panel projects, and so on. In the Middle East, they have been behind, but they are going in the right direction, whether we're talking here in UAE or whether we're talking about Saudi, which are the two major markets. So for example, in Saudi, with the 2030 vision and the 2030 Expo that will be happening in Saudi, this is one of the driving forces which is towards sustainability. So I'll give one example that I think is a very, very good direction Saudi is going into. There is a project going on right now in the Red Sea, many projects I should say, and one of the projects we at my company are working with is supplying this customer with watering cans. They want to shift away from plastic. Furthermore, there's projects like the Line project that's going on up in the northwest of Saudi, where it needs to be, let's say, a city with 0% waste. So also they are working with players in the can industry to be able to supply products that are no longer plastic. So how will we do this? This is the challenge. This is part of your question. How will the region be able to supply the demand of this? The quick answer is you have the Saudi government backing, which is very strong for not just Saudi Arabia, but the whole GCC. You have the PIF, which is involved with Ma'aden, which is a major metal supplier that supplies the region. And they are doing extensive mining, extensive supply of aluminum, not just the region, but also outside of the region. And I believe they will be able to keep up with the market direction that the aluminum can industry is going towards.
Guys, anything else to add there?
Yeah, I know we were talking about sustainability as we move forward. I mean, we are in this fortunate position where we have probably the most sustainable package in the market. And we know that getting the message out there is not always so easy. And this whole circular economy scenario and all of those things that we talk about are absolutely all relevant to what we do here today. It's a very interesting drive, particularly, this is not just in this region or in this region, there's a significant amount of challenge for plastics. Ultimately, the global trend is to move away from plastics and to move into more, let's call them recyclable, quite careful how you use the term, but sustainable products, and therefore beverage cans and beverage cans, and to an extent steel beverage cans are really positive in doing that. Sweden mill. There was a huge investment for a number of years, and then we've sort of seen it tail off. But equally, this investment today is still being driven by the element of use of plastics. And I think everybody, regardless of who they are or where they are, are going to push that message. Okay, how they push that message is entirely to them, right? We'll get there.
And I would add one more point. I believe one of the key factors to seeing aluminum grow in the region is not just, as I mentioned, PIF or MAD, it is also the infrastructure in place to recycle the aluminum. This is something that in this region is not in place. And aluminum as a whole, when you're getting aluminum cans, they can be fully recycled and utilized infinitely over and over and over. But in these aluminum cans find their home in a landfill, they'll never be recycled. So for us to be able to supply the aluminum, not just in the region but worldwide, the recycling rate needs to increase. And that is a major push that all the can fillers are pushing towards, the can makers, the metal suppliers, and even, let's say, the infrastructure of the region and the consumer.
Chris, anything else about that?
Yeah, but I agree with you 100% both of you. In Australia, we're very conscious about recyclability in everything. You know, so we have more, I'm the first one to put the bins out every week, and there's more bins there than I can name. You know, so there's yellow ones, there's green ones, there's blue ones, there's red ones. But we have found that on the recycling accounts, we're only getting 17% of aluminum cans returned by the consumer. Because they, I don't know, are they lazy? They get 10 cents per can. For every can that they recycle, they get 10 cents back to save bottles. So we're not getting the message across to the youngsters. I don't know, is it because our youngsters don't need the money? I know when I was a kid, we used to do anything to get money. Nowadays, they don't care. But you answered that successfully. I wanted to go a bit deeper. The deep side is that when we look at that word sustainability, it's a governmental issue, and we're seeing more and more governments and the oppositions are saying they're backing off the sustainability. Saying, that's ridiculous, we can't afford this, we're not going to go away from coal. We're not going to go away from plastic because it doesn't make sense, because it's a whole thing. From the point of view of a manufacturer, being fully sustainable isn't just about the product you sell, it's what you have to do to make that product. And when we look at, like aluminium with hydrogen, manufactured in the furnace, and we look at what we do with talc, our friends at Stolly, where they can supply you with laminated material, which doesn't use any liquids, any acids, eliminates a lot of the process, which is sustainable. It's not been brought up, not because they don't want to do it, but it's a huge expense to go sustainably in a manufacturing process. And this is the case of your plant. To go from where you are now to a fully sustainable plant is a full investment. You may as well start building a new plant like that. So, things we have to address that's not going to take place by 2030. Okay, we're talking maybe 2050.
And sorry, Chris, not to be too political, so apologies there, in terms of governments worldwide, particularly to the Trump administration, seem to be pulling back a little bit in terms of sustainability drive and rhetoric. You mentioned there about metal being basically the best container in terms of sustainability principles. Is that a potential threat for this industry in terms of what we're talking about here?
Actually, I don't see this long-term threat. I think the long term is still going in the same direction. I think yes, you're absolutely right. There's elements of rhetoric from various parts of the world, and it's relatively short to the point for whatever political reasons. Right? But the long term view is that we still have the best product, the most sustainable product in the market, and therefore that market will continue to grow at a level. I think what we're doing today, particularly in the standard beverage can line, and Chris is absolutely right when he talks about different styles and types of can. But the recyclability aspect, and again, would say use the term loosely. But the recyclability aspect is driven very much by our and the CT's very strong. It's certainly the driving factor behind that. So regardless of what we say, regardless of what we use, the direction of travel will ultimately be exactly the same.
And we all agree that everybody here agrees that the method is the way to go. The unfortunate thing is the end user, your customer, they fill plastic, glass, aluminum, and they're not going to have to say, let's go for the aluminum, because to them it's a cost. And so, as an industry, the best thing to be would be us, suppliers, manufacturers, end users, fellas, to get together and put in a 5% budget to promote what is most sustainable. It's not going to happen because the majority of that dollar, they don't want to know, they just want to sell.
Well, I asked the question. Sorry, I asked that question. What we actually do as an industry? Yeah, fine. We talk about the recyclables, the cans, and we've got in this region and globally, we've got the American cans and Crown driving the global recyclability side of things, and as alcohol, etc. But then, as can makers, what are we doing to complete that whole supply chain? There are places in the world where people are getting involved in recycling systems, so that you can carry that whole supply chain through, right? Is it going fast enough? I mean, do I see in this part of the world, as you just mentioned, there's no real recycling system. So why isn't somebody investing in a recycling system? Why aren't the can makers investing in a recycling system? Because that's where the benefits are going to be. Because we're going to drive our own business rate.
I just want to move things on fashion because there's still a lot of good topics, content to get through. But no, thanks very much for that question. Very interesting. Just before we move on, is there any other feedback from the audience? Any other questions for the panel at this stage before we move on? Is there a question here, please? Thank you.
Again,
what is the status of aluminum can recycling, especially in the Middle East, and what action you are taking, especially
so
for
can you repeat again?
what is the recycling of aluminum can strategy in the Middle East, especially about the can makers or fillers working together, because everybody know that to making aluminum from the aluminum can, it's 95% less energy making from the bauxites. So what are the strategies you guys are looking, especially for the aluminum can recycling?
This is all mine. Which is a difficult question to answer. So the region has not done enough, if I'm being very open and frank. They are not doing enough. They are moving in the right direction. So companies, aluminum companies, let's say in Europe, are focusing on the aluminum stewardship institute structure, where you have to pull a certain amount of aluminum when you roll a new coil of aluminum. 30% of it needs to be recycled. In this region here, we do not have that intact, but the big players such as Ma'aden in Saudi Arabia are moving in this direction. But again, I believe it has a lot to do with the consumer, of how they understand the importance of recycling and how it benefits them and how it benefits the world as a whole. I always like to give this one example that I've told many times before. When I first came to this region back in 2015, I was out at the mall, and at the end of the night, I was walking back to my car from the mall itself, going through the underground parking, and I saw a garbage bin, and it had aluminum section, it had a paper section, it had a plastic section, and it had waste. And I saw the cleaner taking the entire container somewhere else. I followed this gentleman, and then I found out he was pouring all 4 compartments in one package. And then I said, okay, maybe it's going to be sorted somewhere else. Logically, it shouldn't, because if somebody like me takes the time out of my day to pick up the glass and put it in the right container, it should be, if I'm going to spend the effort to do this, it should be done the right way. And unfortunately, in this region, up till now, this structure is not in place. It's getting there again. I keep repeating the same thing. It's moving in the right direction. And I believe a lot of the initiatives put forth in the region, whether it's the Dubai Expo in 2020, their focus was on recyclability, sustainability. The Saudi 2030 Expo, same thing. You're going to have the Saudi World Cup coming in 2034, if I'm not mistaken. And as I repeated before, you have the NEOM project, you have the Line project. All these projects have to integrate with the climate change, the environmentally friendly products, the solar panel projects. So it needs to go in that direction, and it will slowly.
But it's not just the Middle East. I mean, I stayed in Statebridge Suites close to Minster, and my wife at the time, she was impressed by the fact that the front of the hotel, there was about 5 different recyclable bins, and she went and loaded the front desk and said, "How many is this rubbish?" She said, "All goes into one bin." And then in Australia, we had this situation where Woolworths and Coles, our two biggest groceries, they would take every single plastic bag back to be recycled. And there's a good program called Waste.com, I think it is, where they actually put trackers into the plastic bags, and they tracked this warehouse. They found 200 tons of plastic bags stored. They weren't being recycled at all. They didn't know what to do with them because Malaysia said, "Stop, we're not taking any more of the rubbish." So it's a global issue where a lot of the companies that we deal with, the tongue-in-cheek say, "Oh, we recycle everything." Doesn't mean that the Middle East are behind it. It's a global issue.
Just like to, just move on there, just want to touch on Middle East in a little bit more detail. So, that's a very common question there. Just if we can be brief, because we've got quite a lot of subject matter to get through, so thank you.
Yeah, okay. It's working. My name is Wael. I come from Dubai Refreshments, which is the Pepsi bottler here in Dubai. So I agree about the recycling that might help the future of skewing the bottlers to go to can as a package. But at the same time, I don't know whether you know about this the regulations that's going to come, and I think Rania from AGA knows about that, and we'll be discussing that, is that the AGA are implementing a European model where the bottler has to take the responsibility of the recycling cost in the country. And I think that will add more cost on the bottler and will at the same time look for cheaper alternative, which is going to be the PET at the end of the day. So I'm not sure whether really recycling is going really to solve the problem, because at the end of the day, as a bottler, we're going to pay the price for that. So I tend to agree that I don't see it really going to the direction of aluminum. I think it's going to, I won't say even PET, because PET still is a challenge, but maybe down the line when there is a maturity in recycling in the country, that there might be a challenge for can really to compete with PET, or they might be the same. I don't know. That's my stance.
Do you see this as being a generational thing? Do you think the next generation is going to be better than we are? Do you think they're going to be more sensitive to the environment?
Of course, but at the end of the day, I mean, PET, if you have a recycling in a country, then definitely it's not going to be really a harm on plastic. At the end of the day, you cannot really get out of plastic, as you know.
Yeah.
It's an easy package to, on the way to take. It's lighter in weight. It is, I would say, the suppliers are in the vicinity and abundant. They are not like aluminum. So there are a lot of advantages to PET, cheaper. So what really needs to be seen later on is how do we really recycle this PET? How do we really improve on littering in the environment? And this is what's going to mature later on, not to really completely abandon the PET itself.
Well, there is technology out there now where I know there's a company in Melbourne, and I think it's a company in the USA which has designed a chemical which is added to the PET process, so that its breakdown point can be designed to be 6 months to a year instead of forever chemical. But I don't think anybody here wants to get rid of plastic totally. I don't think that's realistic. What we're saying is that there is a place for 1 liter, 2 liter, the big PET bottles. What we're trying to attack is the smaller, sort of the 330, the 250, the the direct competition with the Alpine Camp, because those are one-off uses. They're the ones we see on the road all the time. Do you see that as a possibility, or do you think so that there's not a total PET environment, a total investment? We look at the smaller sizes, and that's possible.
Well, the big PET is also from a value for consumer. It's also it's good for the consumer. So I think the consumer at the end of the day is going to drive this. So usually the larger PET sizes are more affordable to the consumer. I don't know that this is going to be eliminated completely. Again, what I'm trying to say here, if the bottler at the end of the day is going really to get harmed by getting a more expensive metal, and it also at the same time is going to pay for the recyclability, then definitely it's not the way for aluminum. Unless all the people in the aluminum industry take that cost and get distributed over everybody, because as somebody said here, that the energy or the cost of recycled aluminum is really an advantage, but not for us, unfortunately. It's for the aluminum producers. So we're not even really taking a share of that thing. So that's what I'm trying to say. At the end of the day, we are going to decide which way to go, because it's our margin at the end of the day.
Agree. As we said earlier on, the manufacturing process gets the biggest brunt of that. And regardless of what we decide here as suppliers, right up to the can manufacturer, it's going to be the Philippines' decision at the end user, the person who drinks it. And that's different wherever you are. Because in Indonesia, in Thailand, one of the biggest ways of selling is rolling the bottles. You see it on the side of the road, they put it into a plastic bag, straw, elastic bag, because it's cheap, they make money out of it. We can't fight that yet. But we're talking about different markets and different types of products.
And as you know, there are a lot of also technologies coming related to plastic. They're getting now plastic out of waste of, what do you call it, plants. There are a lot of innovations coming on the way for plastic. So also, the people in plastic industry are going their way also to find a more environmental friendly kind of material.
But ultimately, you have to remember that we found a plastic island off India, which was, sort of 2 kilometers wide, just in the ocean. So, forget the cost. We have to look at the environment as well.
Sorry to interrupt, guys. A really interesting conversation there. Well, it's my job to try and keep things on track. So that's
Good thing.
yeah, that's a really interesting thing out there. So it's a great audience interaction. But just want to just change tact a little bit. Chris, will stay with you. In terms of new technologies and AI automation, I think it's important to deep dive into that, and also bring things back into the Middle East as well. But I think one thing we've been discussing over the last couple of days, has this industry fully appreciated perhaps the potential of AI, and a caveat to that, does the average individual within this industry know the difference between what is AI and what is automation? And that's a nice place to kick things off, and everything.
Can I have a show of hands? Who knows the difference between automation and AI? Does anybody know the difference between AI and automation? Chris, I expect you do. It's a difficult question because we keep talking about AI and we talk about Industry 4.0 and Industry 5.0, but ultimately, real AI is where you can reason. Okay? Pure automation is about algorithms, and it's all about what you put into it. You say what it's going to do, and it'll do what you tell it to do. Whereas AI is, I think, called AlphaZero was a prime example, which is a company called AlphaZero, which made an AI model to play chess. And the chess AI basically learns by trial and error. So before it started playing chess with the main grandmasters, it played millions of games to itself, winning and losing, winning and losing, winning and losing, to the point where it would win every game against grandmasters. Now that works well in chess, but you really want AI in industry, which is going to learn by trial and error. It's not wrong, is it?
The plants are never going to go forward with a trial and error method. It's not whatever it's going to be. I know how many cans I'm going to make. That's what I'm going to do. That's what's going to drive me. that anyway, because that's quite the bottom line all about. And I don't think it's AI. My view of AI is yes, from an administration perspective. Even today, we all know these things there, and we'll discuss really these things, right? From an administration perspective, so private manufacturing, right now, in the next 10 years, 15 years, if you look at what I think would be more driven down the industry 4.0 route, down the automation route, improving those efficiencies with what we already have. But it'll be industry 5.0, not 4.0, because industry 4.0 is where you move into automation. Industry 5.0 is a European idea that they will move forward, where it interacts with humans, where you're looking at humans and machines working together, as opposed to going fully towards automation and AI. If you look at investment, the most common use of AI at this time is in automotive. And if you look at automotive and say, well, what's the investment in AI? Germany leads. 69% of automotive in Germany is AI. China is only 11%. USA is 28%. So even the major manufacturers can't get their head around AI. Personally, I believe that we need to use AI we call it, at the moment, we work through a thing called preventive maintenance. Using AI correctly, where it controls every part of the process and feeds back to every part of the process to give you what we call predictive maintenance, is where we want to be in our industry. And I think that's about as far as we can actually say we want to go, where it's helping us to make assumptions based on the temperature variance, vibrations of machines, saying, well, if we don't do something now, it's going to be a problem in 5 days' time. So for me, in our industry, I believe that we should be looking at predictive maintenance and using it towards that. I think that's about as far as I would be daring to go at this point in time.
Mohammed, I just want to, I think, discussing this as well, perhaps this is also an issue of this industry being a very mature market. I mean, when I was on the plane over here, I was actually surprised that nearly every other person was their laptop, their ChatGPT, using it for particularly marketing and administrative tasks. So I think that certainly AI is really important in that regard over the last 2 to 3 years. But from we want to bring things back to a can perspective, it's a mature market. Is there potentially a brain drain in terms of the older generation of can professionals using these technologies and perhaps maybe this industry getting left behind as a result? So I think it may be a two-part question there.
I do believe that in the can making industry, you have a large percentage of the individuals working there that are closer to, let's say, retirement.
So we get them funny.
Sorry?
You're pointing at us.
No. So, with individuals going in that direction, I think people are more pushing against AI in the can making industry for good reason. The reasons these gentlemen have brought up are very, very valid. I'll take a step back now. For example, in my educational experience, I'm an engineer and I actually specialize in robotics and automation. So when I got into that field, it was in I won't say the infant stage, but somewhat of the early stage of this industry, and there was massive pushback, even in the automotive industry, for these changes to occur. It's going to take jobs away, it's not going to do things in the correct manner, it doesn't have a human touch, and it evolved. It evolved to a level that is acceptable. I see AI going in the same direction. For the can making industry as a whole, I can see AI being utilized more on the administrative side. Going somewhat in the direction you were mentioning. I believe that's the direction should go. But at the same time, great things have came out of AI, even in the beverage industry as a whole. For example, Hell Energy, that's based in Hungary. They created artificial intelligence, utilized artificial intelligence to create a new flavor. And it actually did quite well, and it was a big, let's say, boom into the can making industry as a whole, utilizing AI to create a flavor that artificial intelligence believed that humans would enjoy. And it actually did quite well for Hell Energy.
So the total product development as an AI is perfect.
Yes.
To be a
BMW to change what they did with the seat support. And instead of having 28 components, they ended up with one component, which worked tremendously. So you're right.
Bruce, before I bring in the audience here, probably AI is probably one of the most significant changes to human development, probably since the internet. So, are we actually? I know you have a view, but are we perhaps underestimating how things are going to change in terms of AI?
I think we're maybe not considering where it will take us. That said, personally, I don't have an immediate view that what's there on the table today is something that is necessary, something that can take us forward. That's not to say that in 5 years' time we'll walk something revolutionary and you look at that and you go, oh, that actually works in manufacturing. But then I think it's at that point we have to start deciding, are we adapting or are we moving something towards that? Some people bring out something that's really innovative, and that will happen, right? We know that that's what happens in this industry, and that's what happens in every industry. But today I actually see them as being very separate subjects. I think there's an administrative factor in AI that we can absolutely use, but from a manufacturing standpoint, we're back to more improving what we're doing today and taking that forward. And that's where we're. I mean, one of the starts of this question was AI and new technologies, right? And if we just move away from the AI section, one thing I would say about new technologies is it probably ties directly back into what we were talking about previously, which was recyclability and sustainability and all those things. And maybe these are the drivers where we're maybe using some AI to drive that sustainability factor, to understand how we do things, to look at our manufacturing sites and say, right, how are we driving down our energy usage? How are we moving things forward? I mean, it's very interesting. I was reading an article the other day, and they were talking about the voluntary carbon reduction programs that were in place. Now, they no longer use the term voluntary carbon reduction program because it's now a verified carbon reduction program, right? And that's a global issue. And I think if you're a car manufacturer, particularly, then there could be the big companies, probably the Pepsis of this world, will come forward and they will say, we will only buy our cans from verified carbon reduction companies, very much going back to when we all started moving towards ISO and 9000 and all those things. It's that kind of scenario. So from a sort of more new technologies standpoint, as opposed to anything else. So it's what are we doing internally to drive down that footprint and that carbon footprint.
But it is theoretic because in the moment Aramco both they will audit on you as a supplier to make sure that your sustainability, if not in place, has a direction. And I think they're being driven by their fillers as well.
And so it's the way it work. And we should all be ready and aware of it. And that's the reality. And it doesn't matter we're a big manufacturing company.
Manufacturing companies in the least the majority of independents are a different animal altogether.
Sure.
And to go back to, it's kind of tied to what a lot of us are talking about. If we want to drive the consumers to purchase aluminum cans rather than the alternative, the glass, the PET, it's a multiple tier process. The fillers have to find ways to reduce costs. The suppliers need to reduce our costs. So when we talk about the sustainability initiatives, reducing energy costs, using AI for better preventive maintenance as an example, our plants, I'll talk on the can maintenance side, we need to be more efficient to drive down our costs so we can then pass down costs to fillers like yourself, of course, Wanda. And then at the same time, they can reduce their cost to the end user, utilizing a premium package such as aluminum cans. That will grow the market. If more aluminum cans are on the market, more aluminum cans are then going to be driven to be recycled, which then makes it a circular economy, where at the end of the day, the cost of aluminum will go down, the aluminum pricing worldwide should go down, more is recycled, more abundance of aluminum, and then it's win-win for all parties. It's a dream, but it's the world, I believe, is going in that direction. It's just what tools will be utilized to get in that direction are in abundance and almost infinite.
Just to bring things back to AI in terms of just want to open it up to the floor. Is there any feedback from what you said there in terms of?
Can I just finish on the AI before? Because you touched on it, and you touched on it. AI is not within the plans as far as the general consensus is that certainly administration, quality assurance, product development, those areas are straightforward. AI will work with those. Outside of that, I think the next jump forward in AI and the manufacturing process is, you said it, but the other way around, is yes, there is a brain drain element, but it's because of, there's a big gap, I think you said there's 25 years, between what we used to call retirement people, which are now called rehirement, to fill that gap of skill, and the young ones coming through to get that experience. That 25 years, that's going to be the challenge of the future. And that may be the situation where you look at AI and the production process. But at the moment, I just see it in the definitive things: quality assurance, product development, administration.
Just wanted to bring that to the floor in terms of feedback there. Are the guys here perhaps underestimating the potential of AI for the industry, or do you think they've got a spot on? It'd be interesting to get some feedback here from the floor. Any questions?
Not all at once.
Everything was clear.
What about from a Phillips point of view?
Is there a question or you want?
No, I agree with Bruce regarding that AI ultimately, if it's being used by the GAN manufacturer to cut the cost, definitely that will make your product more lucrative for us as fillers to skew to cans. So that's how I look at it. I mean, that's what I see now. I don't know whether you have something else in mind. You're asking something about AI implementation in our business, or?
Yeah, because we've talked a lot about how we feel that it'll impact us in our manufacturing. You as our customer, how do you see AI affecting you?
As you just mentioned, that most probably is going to be used more into predicting failures ahead of time. This is one of the things that already we are using it to a certain extent, which is predictive maintenance, like vibration analysis, infrared testing certain overheated elements in lines, bearings, whatever. Things are being used, but really in a scattered way. It's not really a vision. But I think by time this is going to be the first place where it's going to be used is in manufacturing. I'm saying is the predictive maintenance base. But yeah, definitely administrative positions, things that can be also can be replaced by such technology.
Just one final thing there. I just want to open it up to any further questions for the panelists here in terms of AI before we summarise. I think we're all good there. So just mindful of the time there. With these things, we could probably be here for another hour or two. So I suggest if there's anything specific that the guys have mentioned there you want to mention, feel free to speak to them afterwards. But just closing summary in terms of state of play for the industry. I know it's difficult, but in 30 seconds, each of you just want to provide an overview of where we are as an industry and are you optimistic for the future health of the trade in general? Who'd like to start?
Bruce, you're right.
Well, actually, I feel very positive about the industry. I've been in it for 30 years. It's done me very well. Because we are in a great industry, and we're in an industry that rebounds on a regular basis. Right? So whatever we see today is going to be challenging. The future is still going to be bright. We've got the best packaging product. We know it. Maybe we don't push it out. It's as simple as that. But that will come. And yes, I think the longer term is very positive. With all due respect, I'm going to talk to you about models and the term models, but yeah, I think we've got a great product, and therefore we should start now and things move forward positive.
I would fully agree with you. I think this industry is a great industry overall, and it's always nice in a forum like this we get to connect with all Myself, I've worked in all beverage packaging realms, whether it's low density, high density, PE, PET, glass, and then I finally got into aluminum, and I've been in aluminum for over 10 years, 10 years now, and it is the packaging choice that I see it beneficial in so many different ways, whether it's the 360-degree marketing tool that it has, its sustainability initiatives, the feel, even just the taste. Maybe it's psychological, but I enjoy the taste of a CST in a can rather than PET or in glass. It's what has been my preference. So overall, I think the industry is doing very well. I think specifically the Middle East and India is in a very upward direction, growing more than anywhere else in the world, which is great to see for this region as a whole. And I think only improve better.
And Chris, final word there?
Like you, I've been in the industry for over 40 years. I think me and you, Bruce, we discussed this the other day, and it's a positive future. But it's only a positive future if you have market agility. Okay? You can't sit on your $100 and say it's going to be the same tomorrow as it was yesterday. The market changes dramatically. We've seen PET to aluminum glass. We've seen craft growth. We've seen changes in the least of flavored waters. In the USA, we've seen alcoholic lemonade. All of those things, small companies coming through, big companies going under, it moves as suppliers, whether we're manufacturers or suppliers further down to the ground roots. You have to be agile, you have to be strong, you have to be forward thinking. But as far as the industry is concerned, there isn't a time in the last 40 years where I've said, I'm concerned. I just have to change my focus. It was always a positive future, and today it's still a positive future. I think what I've said to myself from the entire time is the day I stopped enjoying doing this job is the day I gave up. And today I enjoy it as much as I did 40 years ago.
I think it's a great place to end. I think it just shows you how interesting, exciting this industry is, because we've delved into so many different topics there. We could definitely have had a lot longer. But guys, it's been a real pleasure. Certainly, I've learned a lot, and audience, appreciate it. Thank you.
Please get your seats, enjoy the rest of the journey, because we've got another round table ready to continue. So thanks to Alex for his moderation, and Reese, Mohamed, and Bruce for all their knowledge and their shares. I hope to enjoy my job every day. The day I don't enjoy, I will do. That's a really good idea. Let's continue. Today we have prepared a really agenda. So here in the room we've got the prepared round tables of the pieces. And after the coffee break, we start right here. We will have round tables of 3 pieces here, but at the same time we are now with the supplier presentation. We're gonna go the same way we did yesterday to train up to this. So we are all the time speaking going on us. And this afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. we'll have the exhibition area, and after that we'll go together to a small trip in a traditional road, traditional area. So let's continue, please. I will ask all the components of the next round table to join me. The moderator and all the components of the next round.
And we'll probably here. Perfect.
Hello.
I'd say
Okay, let's go on again. We're continuing because we have the coffee break at 11 p.m. Break or coffee or something like that, but we're going to continue with our inhibitors. So let's continue with the roundtable activities about aluminum recycling coalition, which is composed by and moderated by Andrei Prenkiano from Roland Berger. Good morning, please join me here. And let's receive as well Rania Fouquier, Senior Manager at the Corporate Social Responsibility at Emirates Global Aluminium, Amar from Captac, who is the Manager Legal and Sustainability. And let's complete the roundtable with Jerome Marcel, who is the General Manager at UCAP. So please let's give them an applause so they can start.
Good morning, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to be here together with my fellow panelists. Before introducing the panelists today, maybe a short introduction on myself, 1 minute, and then on the topic that we are about to discuss. My name is Andrei Bergiano. I'm a principal at Roland Berger Middle East, working in waste management and specifically packaging recycling with Roland Berger for the past 8 years. Started my career in Europe, where, as you know, a lot of the topics today, as well as 5-10 years ago, were around EPR, were around DRS. There's a lot of growth happening there as a result of global picture, in 2020, there were 420 billion units of cans consumed. This is expected to increase all the way up to 630, with the generated waste being a fraction of that. So today, somewhere between 5 to 6 million tons, going up to 8 million tons by 2030. Now, recycling aluminum cans has clearly a lot of benefits. Yeah? So, in terms of cost, 40% less raw material cost than using virgin material. A lot of that is up to the energy consumption, which can be reduced. That contributes to a lot of CO2 saving. Today, we estimate that to be somewhere around 40 million tons of CO2 equivalents, going up with the recycling efforts that are also increasing. Today, we know that we're not where we should be in terms of recycling aluminum in general, specifically also in terms of aluminum cans. There are a lot of things that we can do, and these things vary from and be applied basically to all steps of the value chain. Of course, legislation, and we'll be covering that today in our collection. About interesting source, about introducing dedicated collection streams. It can be about sorting, so improving the technology, sorting, about capacity, of course, increasing the recycling capacity as well. And we have had already to those. Now, to look a little bit at the UAE as well. So today, 7 tons of aluminium cans are placed on the market. This basically is roughly equivalent to 8 grams per cap, or 71 cans per capita. Today, 100%, the good news is that 100% of these cans are recycled. The less good news is that in fact only about a third of those are actually recovered. The rest actually going to land. And basically there are a lot of challenges today. So the challenges come first, there is a collection infrastructure, but there is no collection infrastructure. Sorting capacity is very limited, although there are plans to develop new MRFs with technology that can sort out cans. And also when we talk about recycling, there is no UBC recycling capacity, although again this discussion will have a dedicated UBC recycling line implemented. So basically all the cans that are today collected. So this is just a couple of words to set the scene of the discussion that we are having, we ought to have here on the panel. And with this, I would like to move to some quick introductions of my fellow panelists. I'll start with Rania. Rania is director of CSR at Emirates Global Aluminium. She's a CSR leader with more than 17 years of experience. She wrote and shaping EG's CSR strategy, ensuring alignment with the corporate objectives and social impact. Rania holds 2 master's degrees in green economy and international business. She emphasizes CSR as a company-wide responsibility and a standalone function. Manager of sustainability at CAPAC, legal affairs and sustainability efforts across the region. Spearheaded the CAPAC CSR strategy, securing our Arabia Award and establishing key research, doing also alliance with packaging innovation and recycling, and is committed to bring sustainable packaging solutions. Finally, we have Jerome, the current manager of RECAP Iberia, expertise in management, marketing, and business strategy to advance recycling and sustainability initiatives. He's an entrepreneur with more than 18 years of experience across France, North Africa, and the Middle East, specializing in business development and strategic growth. And he led commercial expansion in over 20 countries and managed major corporate events before transitioning to the sustainability sector. It's good to have you all on the panel. And with this, basically set the scene and introduce the panelists. I would like to address the first question to Rania. Rania, why is the recycling of aluminium cans important?
Okay, I think that was quite discovered by the previous panel. I think Chris, Mohammed, and Chris touched base on that. But I think on a simple aspect, I think we push. The other thing, there's a lot of cans and said in this panel really have kind of shed a light on the global aspects of recycling. I think local one, you just mentioned that we're talking about 600 plus million, 600,000 plus million cans that are produced in the UAE, but yet 33% only is recycled, the rest is landfill. We have choices. Choice number one is to do nothing about it. Choice number two is to kind of take the attention. And if you think about aluminum in general, and today in this panel, I present the primary producer aluminum, aluminum. We are based in the UAE. We are not a contaminating business. And the question why we are here, why we are part of the discussion, because I believe there is a responsibility that lies like on everyone's shoulder to kind of do something about it. So, so to go back to the question, why it is important, why aluminum recycling is so important, but aluminum, as it was mentioned earlier by Mohammed as well, it's one of the most innovative, I would say, bits of the world, important material in the world. It can be recycled infinitely. So globally, it's been proven. If you look at the cycle of can takes 60 days to get can back on the shelf. We know very well when we look at the aluminum scrap in general. We know that construction, for example, it will take more than 20 years to get to have the same life that aerospace industry or automobile. Where you have a very good chance to recycle and recycle is through elements. So that is my idea on that.
Just a follow-up on that, that you're not a cans producer. You are the producer of aluminium in UAE. So what you see is the role in dry collection and recycling of aluminium cans would be.
Okay, I just I would like to go one step for answer question. So I think we really take sustainability very seriously. We are voluntarily last year and part of we like to kind of be part of the ASI important as a member to create awareness and on the business angle there's a lot going on. UAE has announced a new recycling facility that will be in Abu Dhabi and Saudi. And in addition to that, there was two acquisitions that happened last one in Germany, the recycling facility, also and one in the US. So on this end, we're looking to basically expanding on this aspect. And then we keep an eye on the market. There are a lot of I would say, data around the increase in demand for recycled content. So by 2030, 60% of aluminium supply will come from recycled content. So it's very important that part of this journey and then part of your objectives is to kind of look at those options. And beyond the business or the economic case of aluminium recycling, and being a member of the value chain, we believe that also we want to be part of this discussion and support the drive, I would say, solution around that. So in 2023, we had work on information of the aluminum recycling question. That was basically innovated by Ministry of the UAE, one in the Ministry of Economy and the Minister of Climate Change. This coalition, if you look at the coalition and the type of stakeholders in that coalition, we have a mix of stakeholders that were really active in basically a lot of, I would say, solutions on the. So we have risk management, part of it, we are useful, and we have also talking to everyone. So it's very important as private actors to kind of keep the discussion on, make sure that we are talking to the government, because we know very well that in the UAE, there's an EPR in place, not sure how the decision is based or local is, but there's a lot of discussion on this, the climate with the climate change, and part of climate there will be initiative. We know that the draft of this legislation has been already submitted to the Minister of Climate Change. And we have a discussion because at the end of the day, EPR is not the proper and that will pass. And I think talking also about the and the I just is kind of the law on one side, but rather make sure that legislation is whatever solution it has been imposed. This is one thing like our responsibility also to kind of lead this discussion and facilitate this discussion. We don't direct impact on that. I think our responsibility we can.
You represent manufacturing and background. Could you tell us a little bit about your initiative that your company implements to ensure, plans are they're recycled responsibly?
In aluminum can manufacturing. So we have a sustainability strategy. So we have mainly three pillars: sustain, recycle, and care. When we talk about sustaining, we are reducing the emissions that we have, reducing the waste of water, we are increasing the use of renewable energy, and of course we are benchmarking all the operations through official water course through official associations. This is one. When we talk about recycling, we are looking really to reduce the use of raw material, which will have rust on the collection, so we will be collecting less, reducing our waste generation, and very importantly, we are looking into increasing our recycling rates. When we talk about care, we care about the environment, we care about employees, and we see what we can report to them. And of course, one of our main pillars is to deal ethically and clearly in all our transactions. Having said that, what we did in the UAE, one of the main things that have happened, and thanks for PGA, we were able to sit on one table as can maker, waste management companies, bottlers, under the umbrella, let's say, of the Ministry of Economy and the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change. Now you tell me, what did we do till now as an Aluminum Recycling Coalition? So mainly we did three things through the partners under the Aluminum Recycling Coalition. First, we had the RAI. To know the market, you need to have the data about the recycling rates and the can industry in the country. So a study has been done by the RAI, with the collaboration of Ronald, and we knew that the recycling rate in 2023 it was 33%, and we see that a lot of things can be done in this regard. This is one. The second thing, also through partners or members in the Aluminum Recycling Coalition, we were able to have the Every Account campaign, which was founded in Europe and now it's in more than 21 countries. And proudly, we can say it's the first time in an Arab country and in Asia it happened in the United Arab Emirates. So what's this campaign? It's giving awareness and education about the importance and advocate for the recycling of these cans. And the third thing, as Ryan mentioned, and I would add that maybe most of you know that the EPR law will be introduced and it will cover mainly three streams. It will cover electronic waste, e-batteries, and packaging. And within the packaging, we have our cans. So the collaboration between the public sector and the private sector within the contact sheets that we have in the Aluminum Recycling Coalition will help us to identify the issues and the opportunities that we may face or we may take advantage. So for that, it's very important to stay together to discuss and see. And this is the very good thing, because in certain countries you see the EPR came directly from the government without consulting. No, they are doing their own the study, and now are taking the opinion of what the stakeholders. And lastly, to answer your question, globally we have two facilities for recycling, one in Poland and one in Romania, and we are working closely within with the government and stakeholders, customers, to see what is the best way to collect this gas. Now, as you know, maybe in Romania, and we were discussing that the DRS has been implemented. So we are meeting with the main stakeholders to see what will be the main approach and how we can have a better recycling rates within the scope of dealing in this matter.
Thank you. With this, you've covered your collection initiative, you've covered some, given insight on recycling as well. Maybe I switch to Jerome and switch also to the UAE to ask you to give us an overview of your operations and specifically in terms of aluminium cans. What sort of volumes are you able to collect and what happens to these volumes that are collected today?
First of all, thank you for having us here. I would like first maybe to introduce what is Recap by Veolia in order for you to understand what is the purpose of this initiative. We can call it as an initiative, a sustainability initiative. So first of all, Recap is belongs to Veolia, a waste management company worldwide, with 220,000 employees around the world in all continents and many countries, targeting obviously sustainability, and waste management means the capability to treat waste. So we have different types of waste, mainly Veolia focus on water technology and water treatment, wastewater treatment, also desalination in order to produce fresh water, which is, by the way, very essential for the future and for the future generation. Then we work on the second pillar, which is waste to energy. And I think it's important because it's a shift between landfill and waste to energy that are happening today in the UAE also, in order to reduce the size and the space of the landfill here in this country. And then we have, I would say, waste collection. Treatment with treatment facilities or recycling facilities. And it can be waste that we are consuming ourselves as a household, or also as an office, as a business. And we have also a lot of hazardous waste, such as medical waste or nuclear waste. So everything is covered by this company. The thing is, when we started 4 years ago to implement this project of Recap by Veolia, it was more on what can we do to give back to the community as a worldwide company and to spread more awareness on the importance to segregate our waste. Right? And this is where there is a link with our discussion today. What we consume at home is food and beverage, and those products are made, are delivered as packaging, or we are purchasing packaging. So one of the package that we consume is obviously beverage cans, but also many other paper carton, plastic in general. So to come back to your question, today, Recap, we have a digitalization of the waste collection. What does it mean? It means that we created an application in order to target yourself as an individual living here in Dubai and spreading the importance of segregation, because the main challenge when we are talking about the global issue, one of the big challenges for the waste management companies is the contamination of the waste when we come and pick up this waste from your garbage bin. And in the UAE, you have also another challenge, the infrastructure in place, because you have a black bin for general waste and not all the time a recycled bin. And even in this recycled bin, there is a very huge contamination. I can tell you that in this bin, less than 12% of the material which is inside is at the end recycled. So it means that there is an issue in terms of awareness. So we spread the word through a digitalization system, because you have a mobile phone, all of you in your pocket today, maybe even 2, and sometimes even 3 mobile phones. So it's easy to target people when we are able to spread digital marketing campaign, and you mentioned American Guns. This is what happened since 4 years, and even more than this, spreading awareness to the community. The thing is, my big question is how much I collect. So we started 4 years ago with no one registered into this application. Today we have 150,000 people registered into the application. We have 26,000 households able to use our service within Dubai Capital. Last year we did 187,000 collections. So the question was for us, how can we do that with the possibility of minimizing our carbon footprint? So we introduced different innovation, and I think after we'll talk about that. Finally, we collect a lot of dry recyclable from household, but the can represents 2.7% of what we collect. So my question that I have for myself, why only 2.7%? It's really not we have to household or offices, because we target also offices, so small or big companies with a workplace where they consume water and different type of beverages. So 2.7% I think is not enough. And there is a gap. And the question now, by working with the Aluminium Recycling Coalition and also with the government, where is this gap and how can we find a solution to cover this gap in order to collect much more cans here in the EU? So 2.7% is not enough. I believe that we could double easily this quantity. And then the quality of the collection that is done in the UAE, according to the existing infrastructure, is a challenge, because you saw in your presentation that we have 33% of material which is recycled, recovered, sorry, and with a part going to the landfill, right? So this big part going to the landfill is because also the infrastructure in the UAE is not in place with the right waste management company able to do a good job. And what it means that the waste management company responsibility is to educate also the client, the customer, by providing innovation to be able to get traceability of what is consumed by each household, and then to report this information to the government in order to improve the situation. And this is where we have a very interesting topic to look at in the future, because the contamination and the leakage is very important in the UAE. And this is due to bad practices from the consumer, but also from the collection system in place.
Thank you, Jeremy. You covered quite a few things. Maybe just as a follow-up question, because you mentioned, the lack of infrastructure. You mentioned also this, lack of infrastructure across, right? So you started by saying there are no separate bins. Selected cases, you have separate bins, then sufficient capacities to store, to recycle, etc. We all agree that sorting at source is one of the biggest drivers of increasing recycling rates, because as you were saying, you are able to collect clean materials. And I would say, in many countries where sorting at source was deployed, the first big challenge is the mentality of people that are not used to sorting at home. As you were saying, also in those recyclable bins, there's always a big amount of contamination. And you have basically, tackled this head front. What are basically the biggest challenges when trying to, work with households, with consumers to sort? What does it take to move from a society where we all dump everything into the same bin to able to sort at the source in multiple fractions?
So what was very interesting when we launched this project is how we perceive ourselves as resident in the UAE. What is the community doing? And who will be the best recycler? We were completely wrong. We were saying Western people will be fantastic, and they will be able to bring a lot of volume of material, because they will shift from what is existing and what we are offering. What we offer was an unmet need from the community. It means today We're coming from Europe. I don't want to have only 1 meal or 2 meals. I want more. I can do much more. In reality, in the UAE, first of all, there is 10% of Emiratis and 90% of foreign, and 200 different nationalities and a lot of different cultures. So we cannot address everyone, except if you have a single voice and spreading one easy understanding global message, which is we can do an effort all together by doing something simple. To look at what is possible to recycle here only, and not what is happening in other countries. Because in reality, we don't care. What we have to consider is what is available now, what can be improved for the future, and how we can implement better infrastructure and better recycling system. Right now, you cannot ask a resident to put on side a pouch of crisps, which is with a layer of aluminum plus a plastic on it, believing that it will be recycled. Why? The infrastructure here doesn't exist. So we have to spread a single message. What are the basic methods that we can really recover here in the UAE and in GCC? We face a lot of challenges because we have to target too many people. And it was very, very complicated, but we saw big improvement. From 17% of contamination in our bag that we were providing for food to the community, 17% contamination to less than 4% today. So people are understand. They are very, very good. And finally, the best of the recyclers that we have are the housemaid, which are working for those foreigners living here in the UAE. So why they do that? Because we have the chance to know all our consumers, to be able to reach them through survey and newspaper, and to ask, why do you do that? Because in my country, it's not possible. So if tomorrow or if today it's possible here, why I won't do it? I will do it. And we implemented an incentive. And I think it's a trigger, super important when you want to increase the collection rate and the recycling rate in the country. You have to incentivize the population. You cannot just ask them to do it. And the last thing that I would like to share is you have to implement a trustful system. Because if you are not transparent, you don't acquire the trust of the community and they don't play the role that they should play.
You mentioned in the first part, you mentioned a lot about educating the households, educating the consumers, raising awareness. Maybe switching to Rania, how do you feel about raising awareness, and what are the sort of things that BG does in order to raise the awareness around recycling aluminum?
Always like to go one step back. So I think just to kind of maybe touch base on what you mentioned. I think in the UAE, the challenges that we have are maybe in some countries are not the case. So, but I think we have a mix of challenges. Definitely, consumer behavior is definitely one of those aspects. But I think also in the UAE infrastructure, we don't have a lot of collection is happening, right? But the segregation is happening at source. And I think this needs to change in order for us to secure increased recycling rate, and also to make sure that the collection, we have a clean feedstock in that collection. So when we want to be consumer behavior, I think you're right, 10% is Emirati and the rest is basically expat coming from different background. So we have the Asian, we have the Western, we have the mix. So I think for UAE, because also we know very well that people come here, spend a couple of years and then they leave. So we are in kind of a transition. It's becoming a little bit longer now, especially with introducing the golden visa and all that. But we know very well that it's a kind of the education and awareness has to be ongoing. You cannot just do it for your face and say, okay, so now we're good, we've done the awareness and that's it. So I think the awareness is very crucial, very critical. It needs to be targeted, And what I mean by targeted, you spoke about the housekeepers in the house, especially in gated communities. So it's very important that there will be programs that will target this group. We have, I would say, a lot of labor camps as well, where as well not much. There's a lot happening, but also it could start at schools. So for us at EGA, and I want to really bring back what Omar mentioned, we have brought the program that we can count. This program is funded by each we can count. It's funded by Crown Campaign and EGA because we believe that you need to continue raising awareness across the board. And we do have an approach for that, and what I mean by that, we have a set of activation that we do it on a yearly basis. We try to collaborate with different partners, saying that PepsiCo, could be Coca-Cola, could be Red Bull, because this is where we need to bring more partners to support us in those awareness, because you need to maintain this program. You cannot just keep, I would say, the source of funding only sits with 3, I would say, corporates. You will need to expand this partnership, and then the more the merrier, because we can do more when we are raising more awareness. So currently, what's happening, you will see many events going on in the UAE. Recently, we had it's a food and festival, and a lot of you can with the kids. And recently, we have been in discussion also that we're going to be launching a school program. The pilot will target 20 schools, where there will be more awareness on taking account, and hopefully there will be more champions in the schools to kind of continue raising awareness. So I think this is part of the momentum with TVCAP in the door-to-door collection, but also we have now an agreement with Nadira. Nadira is another innovative solution to the UAE that we're also supporting as well with their solution, and that goes back to the previous time when we spoke about AI. Because AI will play a major role not only on the infrastructure of the segregation, but also on reaching out to the consumer and making sure whether you are in the UAE or in or anywhere in the world. The moment you convince and the more you do the mindset, you change the mindset, this will continue, whether you are doing it or you move Saudi. If you are really, if you believe in it, you will do it. And I think what we have to focus on is to kind of work on, I would say, creative campaigns, but those campaigns that really would show the benefit of recycling, more recycling and more recycling.
Thank you. I think I'm getting indications that we're running out of time, but I would like to address two topics, two last topics. Please be mindful of time, but I think we should do so. We had some that were joining the panel. The first topic is innovation, and there is Omar was mentioned lighting. Jerome, you've introduced this digital platform that supports it. So I would like to ask Jerome, of course, but what the role of innovation is going forward in recycling. That's one. I would like to very briefly also address the topic of regulation, because this is a topic that was and is talking about all regulation, our regulation, our efforts to recycle waste. With your permission, please.
Okay, so how would we innovation? I don't know, 60 years back, if you look at the can, it was about 60 grams or 80 grams. And now, the 330 ml, it's 13 grams. So imagine 1.3. So with that, less of aluminum. And by doing that, we are educating in the resources or in the can sector. So this is the first thing. The second thing, you are talking about regulation, and there may be some that are coming here, and you are really talking about recycling before, but all the international regulation that affect us. You see, mechanism. So in Europe, you have certain regulations that you if you are manufacturing in an entity which is outside Europe and you are bringing these cans into Europe. So this is one very important topic into consideration. And of course, we were discussing also outside, there's a new law that will be implemented in the UAE about the carbon emissions. And this law, we need to tackle it to see how it will be done, because we don't have the executive regulation now. Maybe this is something we can discuss to see. So I need to say, in terms of regulations, UAE is doing a lot. Still, we are not as stakeholders within the Aluminium Recycling Coalition. We can advise and advocate for the right practice.
Thank you. Joe?
About innovation, very quickly, say there is no sustainability without innovation and without innovative leaders. It's very important to understand that sustainability projects need long-term thinking and to shift from what we're doing to another way to see our business model. We should be innovative. So innovation is crucial. Organic regulation have a very important role to play because they can also provide solutions for startups like you mentioned, Nadira, or any other initiative, ourselves also to be more innovative and to help us to fund our innovation, because we need fundings for that at the beginning of any project. And the discussion that we had 2 years organic with PR here in the UAE, there is a high under progress starting since this year. I think the point of the EPR is to fund also the collection system that need to be implemented in order to increase the collection rate and then the recycling rate. Way to the recyclability of the material, right? To push for innovation for can maker, and also to implement regulation such as recycled content that we could have into the plan in order to production. Because if you need recycled content, but there is nobody to collect it, or no right infrastructure to each system, but you see you will have a lack of feedback of recycled content that will be implemented. So it's a collaborative action that needs to be in place. And the EPR here is very interesting because all of us here are discussing with the ministry about what for us as a waste management company, what is important for our company, what is important for a can maker, and for all stakeholders that are engaged in the material that we should recover. Data is super important. Innovation is data. Today, I can tell you every single material that we collect, the percentage, the tonnage, from where, which area, and that's super important because when you want to increase through an EPR the collection rate, you need to understand what is working, what it doesn't work, in which area it works, in which area it doesn't work. And you need to give some targets. You need to have some targets in order to see if we are delayed or not, and to put in place more action. Consistency of awareness is super essential. So for me, I will say that the regulation will support all those innovations and will incentivize the circular economy principles.
Let me add one thing, just for the, you cannot manage what you cannot measure. Okay, so there's scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3. So what we are doing in CAPEC, we are doing the calculation regarding to that. And then you mentioned a very important topic, which is recycling content. As per our studies, in 2021, we used to have 51%. We reached 66%, almost 66% in 2023. And our target in 2030 to reach 80%. So this is one major thing where we can look at the measurement of our operation and how much we can have less products.
Thank you. Rania, any final thoughts?
I think just to wrap up, because I know that we're running out of time, but I think it's not allowed anymore to have a new methane academy. First of all, so I think everyone is working towards increasing So recently in COP28, there was a global legacy pledge that happened among the different global players who can makers in the world. And I believe this, if you want to call it coalition or global advocacy track, there's a lot of lessons that we can learn from each other, especially different innovative solutions that are in different parts of the world that we can bring locally, that we can benefit from those solutions. The other thing, there should be investment in innovation, so where the private sector and government should support innovation, because innovation is the future. AI, talking issue, we can't avoid that. And the other thing, if you look at the other industries and other sectors, innovation is a crucial role, like for example, the medical sector. You can really do operations, you can operate without even human influence. What I'm trying to refer here that it's about time and you focus on what we need to do in order for us to achieve 100% security by 2050. And innovation is definitely one of them, and we need to support the solution and have the right investment for those solutions.
I think by now we've completely run out of time. So I'd like to thank Dr. Mohammed, and if there are any questions, I would say we can take them after this time during the break.
We have plenty of time. So,
Good afternoon. Actually, my question was on because we if we can go to the ocean without stuff, including remove a lot of trash, include aluminium stuff, but particularly aluminium cans. So besides landfill, the ocean is most of our landfills. Most of the ocean is not in the ocean. Where is the amount of the ocean in your strategy or ongoing aluminium collection and eventually?
Question, yeah. May I have your name, your which company, from which company?
From Belmont.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's a very good question about the difficulty of cleanups that collaborate on those beach cleanups. But even with the beach cleanup, there's a lot of waste that's being generated, and we can offline talk about some of those to you because we can also track what's being collected. We also track some cleanup campaigns. But majority of the waste collected from the beaches are plastic. Yes, there is this aluminium cans. Usually, when we are involved in any cleanup campaigns, we make sure that there is a reduction of it, and we also work with the in Dubai and Abu Dhabi to make sure that the proper segregation of this waste is collected, and then that's being segregated and sent for recycling. So this is at least what I can share.
What I can just add, in the UAE, you have much more plastic in the ocean, and the study has been done by the Environment Agency in Abu Dhabi, and on the coastal, you have a plastic bottle in which makes. Okay. And aluminium is very difficult compared to plastic, and second, the problem is mainly not some. Thank you again for the question. I know you're from place. Just to answer the question, we are mainly focusing in UAE on the awareness and education campaign. We are part of many initiatives, American Council collection, Brazilian collection campaign. Now, if you tell me for us what these are, the African collection and the full circularity, which is not possible at this stage because we don't have recycling facilities. So yet the recycled not being from the ocean, and we know it's from the ocean and it's on the life of the ocean. But I don't know the main thing, as you know, and you mentioned is collection and arrival better correction rate in the UAE. And for
for us as can makers, is the function of the
Actually, you can listen to people because we are in tough time period of time. We are actually in 5 minutes. It's time so thanks to all of you for doing the best for respecting our schedule. Thank you all, and see you for the supplier presentation of the freebies and the other area. The room we made yesterday the training. Round tables here. And 2 pieces over there. I made a mistake. I said 3. Sorry. Okay, 2 pieces. Splash presentation over there, and we'll continue with the next round table.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? Just before we get started, excellent setup here. Looking forward to a good conversation about the latest trends, threats, challenges for the freebies industry. Just wanted to make sure that the sound quality is okay before we begin. So if you can just give me a hand up the back there if you can hear me okay. That's brilliant stuff. So I think everyone will filter in the next couple of minutes. So I think it's a nice opportunity for us to begin. To introduce myself, my name's Alex Ford, Managing Director of the Mental Packager. And looking forward to comparing an interesting debate. And I think these sessions always work best where everyone doesn't necessarily always agree with the subject matter. So guys, feel free to agree, disagree, argue. The more the better. Also, we'll be opening up to the floor, relative sessions throughout the afternoon as well. So hopefully we can get some audience interaction with you guys as well. So we're going to be focusing on a range of hopefully some juicy topics in terms of tariffs. Lots of controversy going on there. We've got obviously some regulatory legislation as well. Hopefully we can deep dive into the Middle East, make it relevant for this audience. So I'm looking forward to a nice conversation, but I'll bow down now and over to you guys. So if you could just introduce yourself briefly for the audience that know you and just before we begin. So Nestle.
Okay, well, I am Ernesto Rivera. I am the CEO of Masa Caps in Spain and also the CEO of Masa in Egypt, and we produce of steel pans.
Good morning, my name is Steve Klaus. I'm the Secretary General of Steel Packaging Europe. We represent the manufacturers of tin plate production in Europe.
Good morning, my name is Saja Abdullah. I'm the head of global sales and manufacturing for Bangladesh in UAE. We've been here for 5 decades, and we have a legacy of 160 years in the Sub-Ministry Petroleum Company back in India. We do metal manufacturing of cans and steel drums and plastic packages. It's really hard to discuss it further, but
we'll keep that last bit quiet for the person. Actually, it might prove interesting to get a little bit of something to take on things. Because speaking for myself as well, you can get a little bit insular and just focus on metal sometimes. So it'd be nice to get some of that knowledge for sure. But, just to start things off, I think we did mention it in the 2P side of things, albeit briefly, but I think it's probably best to address slightly the elephant in the room in terms of tariffs. I think to start things off, we had quite a bit of intakes from the panel before. It wasn't all in agreement, but obviously we have Trump 2, which has caused some controversy, and I know it's probably been a bit of a headache recently in Europe, so I think that's probably a nice place to start. If you can give a bit of an overview about potential implications for the European market first off, and then we can bring the guys in to discuss globally as well the potential impact.
Thank you, Alex. Free and fair trade is, of course, a foundation of economic wealth. And so the introduction, or the thing that Trump is suggesting now, to import response in an appropriate way, defending the interests, of course, of the European industry, its workers, and the consumers. Because it's all about fair trade. That's the most important. And if we can ensure free trade in Europe, then our industry is willing to further support the objectives of the European Green Deal. Also implicating to stimulate innovation and also manufacturing sustainable products. An example, and I will leave it to that, I will stay very short on it because we will be further elaborating sustainability and environmental issues later onwards. It's the so-called CFPA. It's chromium-free passivation alternative, which I want to elaborate on a little bit later when we talk about sustainability, but I would like to move into that for the time being. Yes.
And if so, nice to bring you in here. I know the guys beforehand on the 2P side saying that potentially it's very problematic, the recent tariffs, not least because Coca-Cola needs to pivot away potentially from aluminium to PET. So potential implications there. On the the 3P side of things. What's your take on it's been certainly controversial and different news stories every couple of days in terms of tariffs. You can see your perspective on this.
Yeah, we have a few years. We strange things every year, not since 2020 when we started with the topic, we didn't have any good news at all. We are just jumping from one to another, one surprise to another one. Now we have this situation with the duties. Also, we have state and new duties in the European Union for Chinese steel, which is a steel provisional that will be a final decision in the next weeks to put an additional duty as additional quota to the steel coming from China in particular, which is also not affecting only Europe because it's also affecting to the rest of the world. That will affect also the Middle East with a different situation or maybe with opportunities, because every risk and every of these situations will bring also to opportunities to different regions, and also with the situation in the United States and the situation in Latin America, which is also taking advantage of this. The competition is becoming a little bit more complicated, and we will talk about this maybe a little bit later, and also about the regulation, not only about the growth, but also about the CBAM, and all the things that are impacting to the production in Europe, but also affecting to the production in the rest of the world, because what is affecting to Europe will affect also to the rest. I mean, this is something we need to take advantage and to look for the options to fight with it and to do it well.
So it'd be nice to get a perspective on the Middle East and Indian side of things. Do you think this market will be affected by potential tariffs in place from the US, and also looking into China as well? I mean, it seems to be a very volatile situation at the moment, so it's getting your take.
Well, we have two perspectives. The first thing is the short term and then the long term. The short term will impact, definitely yes. It will have an implication in the coming to what was the Middle East. Having said that, everything in the Middle East is important, especially if you look at the whole GCC area. It's like important. So when you talk about like raw material or consumables or even let's say secondary packaging, everything is important. So nevertheless, having said that, will there be availability in terms of pricing? Yes. But in the long run, in the long shot, we look, there will be some benefits. There will be some direct placements of, let's say, some credit loans that is based. We've seen this in the past. Everything is now to it's like if you have to look as a peninsula or if you look at like Africa as well as India, from both ends, whether it is of the east or the west, eventually the implications come over here. So yes, we do see a short-term implication, I would say, but over the long run, yes, it will go back to normal.
Will it ultimately be the consumer that's affected overall? So discussion we had this morning in terms of the tariffs, ultimately this is business, you follow the money, these sort of things. So will that cost be passed on to the consumer? We saw that with inflationary pressures in the last 2 to 3 years. That brand price increases across the board in both the food and beverage sector. So I was thinking, from my perspective, is that the tariff situation, is that one of the similar situation we've seen with inflationary pressures globally? Do you think?
See, the captures consumers definitely yes, but based on economics, what happens is how much they pay in the wallet will have that impact. What as a manufacturer, as a B2B manufacturer, will actually have to go through. Will the consumers absorb the cost? Not necessarily, because of again, at least what we've seen over the last 5 years and the insights I've received from back home is that consumers they do determine the market and basically build up a portfolio or you diversify a portfolio based on their consumption, based on their exposure. But it all matters on which tier the customer is. So the end consumer, what is the final implication? They do have it, but will it help their wallet? Not as much as it will. Our let's say our dollars. And will it be absorbed by the middleman that is your customers? That is what your commercial contract or how it's going to be priced. they have it, give or take, or what are they making?
The effect, Alex, is not only on the consumer, but it's on the entire supply chain, of course. And when the US would impose by the 12th of March those tariffs on steel and aluminum, it will have a huge impact on the global industry. We know, you already mentioned it, Chinese production. You need to get away with your production, of course. There is a huge overcapacity over there, and if the US not closes its borders, but will implement the 25% duty, they need to get away with their products elsewhere. So it could be dumped then on the African market, it could be dumped in the Middle East market, it could be dumped on the European market, but we need to ensure that level playing field. Tariffs in short term, because they will impose tariffs and Europe will react with probably also duties. So it's not a good way, and the way forward should be to have fair and free trade. That's the way forward for economic growth. I think that is an important takeaway here, that we need to be aware of the fact that different regions are driving at different speed. But that we need to ensure that level playing field, and we need to avoid dumping of products on other markets than where they were supposed to be put on the market.
I don't want to get too political because we could probably be here all day to be honest, but obviously the situation in Ukraine is pretty consequential as well, so that ties in quite nicely to tariffs. So Steve, I need feedback from more members situation, and do you think we're in a situation?
Sustainability, and we will keep on doing it. The sustainability agenda is very important. The European Green Deal still is an important one, but as I mentioned, we need to level playing field. Does it will stop us from producing environment? No, so we might not know it. A regulation in Europe is the registration, evaluation, authorization, and restriction of chemical substances in products. With a drive, of course, to protect the health of human beings and to protect the environment. But it, of course, put the bar that high in Europe and set the bar perhaps here, elsewhere in the world. You need to avoid not having a level playing field. So that is also very important. One of the issues, for instance, is that CFPA, chromium-6, hexavalent chromium, is being identified in Europe as a substance of very high concern. It's a wake-up call. It was a wake-up call 20, 30 years ago already in Europe. That is not healthy for the workers. So we need to protect our workers, of course. We want to do everything to protect our workers. And CFPA, which was developed 20 years ago or something already in Europe, work in progress, of course. It's the alternative to chromium-6. It's protect the health. Like providers, coding providers, we need to all work together. This is a call for action, not only for the European manufacturer and supply industry, but for the entire industry to step up and take our responsibility, and together we will get there.
Just before I run out to the floor, you say it's time for the whole industry to step up. How do we do that?
Collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. So that is the name of the game, that we share data, that we share information. If there are hiccups in the usage of CFPA, with coatings and manufacturing of cans, that we collaborate, that we are transparent on this data, that we share that data, and that we work together. So that will be the next big thing, to collaborate and to overcome issues that we are having. So it works perfectly fine, CFPA, in a lot of categories, but seemingly not in all product categories yet today. And that's the name of the game. Be transparent about the data, share, collaborate, discuss, and move on.
NSO, Sergeant, is there anything to add there in terms of what Steve said there?
I agree with Steve, but this is the alternative also to the tariffs. The tariff is putting barriers, and the regulation is not putting the barriers, because you are just with the regulation, you are able to compete when you comply with the rules. rules. This is like a football match. I mean, if you are playing football match, the two teams have to play with the same rules. If you allow that one behind the last defender, this is not an offside for one of the teams. That will be a big advantage. So if there are regulations, for example, like Steve is talking in Europe, I mean, and you are bringing products from outside, you have to request that they are compliant with the regulations, which is not we have now. We are seeing that we cannot comply with the European regulations. That will make that you need to produce also in some places. You want to so also it's coming with the CBAM in Europe in 2026. We have the carbon footprint barrier, and you will have to pay if you are importing materials with high level of carbon emission. Even we are declaring already on this, and now that will make more sense in the real competition. You have to comply and to play with the same rules.
So, anything else to add there before I open it up to the floor?
So, just right before the session started, I was sharing with Ernesto and Steve in terms of regulators and regulations in the Middle East and how it plays a pivotal role when it comes to the application of, let's say, norms or matter. It goes to the very essence of how the Middle East thrives, and it's governed by its countries. Let's start with the reality check. And when it comes to expatriates, you do not technically have to apply these governments till it's required. It is top down. And so yes, when it comes from a negative point of view in application, all these values can be invested and instilled in each of the industries, especially in our industry, like you rightly said. Supply chain is like, from how I share my team, is like we are basically converters. So it's raw material conversion, finished goods, sell it, infinite loop, and that's how the cycle goes. So everybody out, I would say, in the crowd or before asking the two things guys, the whole ecosystem is around that model itself. Then you can base yourself where you stand. So how do you contribute to that subject? It is very key because everybody has to put, like we said, it is a collaboration. Will it full-fledgedness be applicable in the Middle East? At the moment, I would say it's in a nascent stage because even the following subject in terms of nuclear noise and that's also an open ground for discussion because when you go and meet the end consumer, or let's say the customers, and feel the need, it's not there. Because at the end of the day, you have to see what the bottom line is. And it's not so if you don't match, then you're destined for one organization. That's how it's going to be your next country. So yes, unlike the EU or the Americas or Southeast Asia, the value norms over here is quite a bit different because everybody comes from their own values and what they bring on board. So yeah, that's my take.
No, I really appreciate it. Just want to open things up to the floor now. It's a nice opportunity to our panel here. So is there any feedback from what's been discussed so far in terms of the implications of potential tariffs? Any Middle East perspective would be appreciated as well. So any questions from the floor? Everyone very quiet here. Anyone else? Yeah, needed to have answer a couple of questions.
Reflection time, probably.
Reflection time. But no, the guys here will be available afterwards. So if there are any questions that you have, feel free to reach out. And certainly significant I think aspects of the industry at the moment. It's changing every day, so I think it's going to be interesting moving forward. But we certainly touched upon it earlier in terms of regulatory changes. Nestle, we could bring you in on this in terms of recent PPA announcements. Certainly, there's across the board there's significant changes, not least in Europe, but probably that will impact this market and probably worldwide. So, if you could just introduce the concept to the audience who perhaps aren't as well acquainted with some of the changes that we've seen, that's probably a good place to start.
We are facing on this. For example, BPA line is something already gone. I mean, all the production is coming like this. F3 also, which is only coming from a couple of states in the United States, but this is not regulatory. In Europe, we have adapted it, and almost many customers are already requesting free complete, the PVC-free cans and some caps, because this is another thing that we produce. And they are requesting this. And in many of the cases, it's possible to do, but in some of them, the market is still, suppliers are not able to supply the right product to say that all the product is completely PFAS-free. We are PVC-free. We are facing some problems in some of the lacquers and in some of the components we use for the CRPN, so this is taking a little more time. So the regulation sometimes is going much faster than the development of the things. I was talking about one thing, because this is the three pieces.
How they will take it and how they can place it in their price point. Because they have other margins or larger supply chain models or logistics models or global networking, however it be. But when you talk about tier 2 and 3 and 4, that is not their money, that is not their capacity.
Yeah, because this is coming from the filler. The filler is requesting the things and is present. So if you try to go for something they are not interested, and this is higher cost, that doesn't make sense for them. So they need to press. This is what happened with some multinationals, has been going faster than the regulations. So they are requesting, they say we are the best ones, so we want to do this, and you need to provide me with this product. But then they are able to charge more in the market. You know? But the most focus on the price.
I know customers I left place in administration, one of the customers, the owners, he told me that you try to send me the Nokia communicator, it's done. asked him what is the analogy, he said it was too advanced, but it could not cope with that bubble because why? There was no internet, let's say the GPS or whatever we need. It was very expensive. So it was an amazing product, but not for that time. So you don't need like park it off. We'll come back. Let's advance by a few years ahead. Then we'll come back and then by then we'll have enough local manufacturers or suppliers or providers which can actually bring down the cost. Because today if I have to go from one point to the let's say consumer, that is actually supporting for the whole that's an objective. Then once you import, let's say they start locally, then we have to talk about compliance, we have to talk quality, we talk about price point, then you talk about supply chain model in the meantime. So yes, to put it honestly,
Regulation can be frustrating, but there's also some positive news about regulation. Let's not be too negative about regulation. When you look at Europe, for instance, there's the so-called packaging and packaging waste legislation. At the beginning, it was a directive. All member states had the opportunity to fill it in the way they wanted. Now it's a regulation. And for the first time, recyclability is enshrined in the legislation. And that is very important for our industry. For the metal packaging industry, that is very important because we are circular by nature. And steel as a material is circular by nature. You can recycle it over and over again without loss of intrinsic properties, without quality loss, without quantity loss. Almost no loss. And so what we are doing in Europe now is to build grades, packaging recyclability performance grades. Like you should see it like the energy consumption of a dishwasher. And you have A label, B label, B label, C label. We will also do that for recyclability of packaging. So a consumer will see at the end of the day on their packaging, is this highly recyclable, yes or no? And there will be definitions. Because a little greenwashing on what is recyclable, what does it mean? Fully recyclable, 100% recycled content. Yeah, that will all need to be, of course, very clearly defined. We will has a and using new technologies to be less CO2 expensive.
Steve, that's actually harmful for our opportunities. That is sustainability because certainly since that Attenborough Group magnitude the real shift consumer recent change in terms of how governments are running things that could be problematic.
There's a little say, yeah, but that limit needs to be for the environment. So we had that completely, we said that